I was diagnosed with diabetes March 23rd, 2005. It was 2 days after I turned 13, and it was the day of my birthday party. So when I was in the hospital, I remember my mom making calls to all my friends and their parents and said, Kelsey's in the hospital right now. She was just diagnosed with diabetes and we are not having a party. I was very involved with a lot of different activities throughout high school and middle school. I was a cross-country runner for 7 years. I did track, cheerleading, and tennis. Diabetes definitely affected my sporting events and my sports a lot more than any of those other extracurricular.
Do you have to look kind of more in depth with? What do you have to be more aware of when you're doing sports?
That's a wonderful question. First of all, like I said, I carry around Starburst, and I used to have a fanny pack. Because I can have low blood sugars, it's very dangerous, and if I don't have access to orange juice or marshmallows or something that has a lot of sugar, I'd have to carry around Starburst and pop those in when I was running. I'd have to stop, and all my little running friends would go in front of me and I would be eating them back. But so just monitoring my blood sugars while I was running, that was a huge challenge. Because 8 hours after I would race, my blood sugars would drop. And that was very scary because let's say I was taking a nap or sleeping and I didn't wake up, that would be a huge problem. I mean, a lot of people die from having low blood sugars when they sleep. So I would always have to check my blood sugar at like 2 a.m. after a race day or like at crazy hours.
Diagnosed at a very young age, so you're probably scared. What did your family think of it? Like, how did they react?
My family was extremely supportive. A lot of my family, they're in the medical field, thankfully, so they knew the complications, the consequences, the good and the bad. My grandma was a nurse, so she would always say, "You're too sweet, that's why you have diabetes. Your body can't handle your sweetness." But that's not how I got it, honestly. After I was diagnosed with diabetes, my doctor really wanted me to go on a pump. And what that is, it's this little machine, it's honestly this big. It's attached to your hip, and there's a needle, a little flexible plastic needle that's inserted. And it was in my stomach at all times, so I'd put it in. Every 3 days I would change it, but it was always connected to me, and there's like a wire that attached itself, and that's how I got my insulin. So for about 2 years I was on an insulin pump, and I did not take shots because my pump did that for me. And I really did like it, but there are definitely some negative consequences that came along with having the pump, so that's why I'm no longer on the pump.
So you were on the pump when you did cross country, when you did cheerleading, when you did track. So what were some of the obstacles that you had to face when wearing the pump during your sports?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's something that doctors don't really warn you about. When I first got on the pump, I was so excited because it did all the math for me. I didn't have to count things. I just plugged in what I was eating. But first of all, I always had it attached to me. So when I would run cross country, it would just be on my hip, just bouncing, and it was so uncomfortable. And then I'd have to wear a fanny pack because in case I got a low blood sugar. So I had Starbursts and little graham crackers and all these little things just in case I got a low. And then when it came to cheerleading, in 8th grade I was a flyer. So they would throw me up in the air and all this stuff, and I didn't take off my pump because if I took off my pump, my blood sugar would increase, and you don't want that. So one day, it's like on my side, and they go to like throw me up, and it gets caught in the girl's, in the girl's arm. So she threw me up, and I whipped back down, and the pump thing, like the insulin needle, comes out, and it was just a bloody mess.
And if there was a young girl who was recently diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, you know exactly how she feels, what would be a piece of advice that you would share with her?
I would tell that little girl, it doesn't matter if she has diabetes or not, she can still be normal and live a normal life. So that's definitely the most important thing because I thought I was going to be so isolated.